The top stories tonight in Y News. Church gatherings with up to 30% venue capacity are now allowed in the National Capital Region.
Comelec personnel, call center workers, and athletes are now included in the A4 priority group for COVID-19 vaccination in the Philippines.
Vice President Leni Robredo says that she is open to appearing in a COVID-19 vaccination infomercial with President Rodrigo Duterte. But the palace says Robredo must clarify her position on Chinese vaccine. The government's pandemic task force creates a group that will study and formulate protocols for the possible entry to the Philippines of fully vaccinated travelers.
Indian health authorities called to declare an epidemic following a rise in deadly black fungus cases.
And Israel and Palestinian militant group Hamas finally agree a ceasefire in Gaza Strip after 11 days of fighting.
Good evening, Philippines and the world. We are now reporting live from EDSA Cubao, Quezon City. Today is Friday, May 21, 2021. I am William Theo.
Join us in the next hour as we deliver today's top stories around the country and in other parts of the world. I'm Angelo Castro III.
We are also seen in 1,935 satellite monitoring centers nationwide and via live streaming worldwide through the UNTV News and Rescue social media accounts and our website, untvweb.com. I am Jorlene Delgado.
First in the news, the Interagency Task Force Against COVID-19 or IATF has approved the recommendation to allow the conduct of religious gatherings in Metro Manila with up to 30% venue capacity. The Pandemic Task Force will also study the age-based restriction for fully vaccinated senior citizens. Rosalie Cos explains why.
Though Metro Manila is under general community quarantine with heightened restrictions until May 31, more people can now attend religious activities. This after the Metro Manila Council allowed religious gatherings at 30% venue capacity. The IATF earlier allowed religious gatherings up to 10% venue capacity under GCQ with heightened restrictions. But the IATF has given local government units authority to increase the venue capacity up to the allowable venue capacity.
Ngunit binigyan ng discretion ang mga local government units na taasan ang venue capacity ng religious gatherings na hindi tataas sa 30% allowable venue capacity.
Meanwhile, the IATF will still have to conduct thorough study if age-based restrictions can be eased, particularly for the fully vaccinated senior citizens. This after the appeal of senior citizen rights advocate Romulo Macalintal to the government to allow those fully vaccinated 66 years old and above to go out, visit malls and other establishments.
Antayin po muna natin na talagang tuluyang ma-vaccinate na ang lahat ng ating mga seniors, no? At pag-aaralan naman po natin kung po pwede na.
But for now, the palace appeals to the senior citizens to be homeliners because of the risk of getting infected with COVID-19. Rosa Licos, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
Meanwhile, local government units have started not announcing the brands of COVID-19 vaccines to avoid crowding of vaccination sites. The Health Department assures appropriate vaccine brands will be given to individuals based on their sector. Aiko Miguel explains why.
The Health Department assures all COVID-19 vaccines approved and being used in the Philippines are effective against COVID-19. This is why Filipinos belonging to the list of priority sector should not worry and choose which vaccine brand should be used for their inoculation. According to the Department of Health, there is a real-world data showing that those who have completed their 2 doses of any COVID-19 vaccine brand has prevented them from hospitalization, death, and even symptomatic COVID-19 infection.
Lahat ng bakuna ay ideal para sa bawat Pilipino. Meron lang po tayo mga sinasabi na kailangan natin ng clearance para sa specific na mga sakit katulad ng HIV, katulad ng autoimmune diseases, katulad po ng mga may cancer na nag-undergo ng treatment ngayon, katulad po ng mga transplant patients, yung gumagamit po ng steroids at saka yung po mga bedridden na patients natin. Yan lang po ang sinabi natin na kailangan na mag-clearance the rest of the population as long as the EUA of that specific vaccine will tell you na kasama kayo dun sa age group. For example, for Pfizer, it says 16 years old and above.
The DOH adds there are recent studies of experts showing that the available COVID-19 vaccines in the Philippines, like Sinovac, Sputnik V, AstraZeneca, and Pfizer, are effective against new COVID-19 variants. Currently in the Philippines, there are already cases of COVID-19 variants first discovered in United Kingdom, South Africa, India, and the variant under investigation P.3 in the country.
Pero sinabi ng WHO, no matter how it affects the vaccines, you still give the vaccine because it will still provide you with that specific protection na meron. Kung ito man po ay makaapekto, ito po ay makakapagbigay pa rin ng protection. Kahit sinabi natin nawala ng 10%, meron ka pa rin natira na iba pa for that efficacy to work in your body.
The DOH continuously encourages the public to get inoculated with the available COVID-19 vaccine in the country because there is no assurance yet when other brands of COVID-19 vaccines will arrive in the country.
Lahat po ng tatanggi o hindi kaya ay hindi nila preferred na mabakunahan ng specific brand has to go to the bottom of the line. Halimbawa, nag-decline siya, pumunta siya sa bakunahan, tapos nalaman niya yung brand, ayaw niya iyon, yun po ay ino-note dun sa master listed form niya na ang preference niya itong bakunang ito. At mapupunta po siya sa huli ng linya dahil supposedly she was already master listed and scheduled but she refused ito pong chance na ito.
The government expects that there will be 4 million Filipinos who will receive their COVID-19 shot by the end of May. On the second quarter of 2021, the government targets 120,000 Filipinos to receive their jab daily. Aiko Miguel, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
Vice President Leni Robredo is open to the suggestion of working with President Rodrigo Dutertes for an advertisement to encourage more Filipinos to get vaccinated. However, the palace is still unsure about it. Their support will tell us why. After the government decided not to announce the vaccine brands anymore, some senators expressed concerns on the new policy. One of them is Senator Joel Villanueva, who suggested that the two top officials of the country, President Rodrigo Duterte and Vice President Leni Robredo, should come up with a joint public service announcement. According to the senator, this is to convince more Filipinos that the vaccines are safe. He adds the tandem would be the most effective tool to fight fake news about COVID-19 vaccines. When asked for comment, the palace is still unsure, saying that it wants the vice president to clarify her position on the Chinese vaccines.
Well, una-una po linawin natin kung talagang tatanggapin ng vice president ang lahat ng bakuna. Kasi nagkaroon siya ng unang mga deklarasyon na mukhang hindi rin siya approve sa mga Chinese vaccine. At pinulitika rin po yung issue na yan na para bagang may kapalit yung ating WPS issue dito sa mga bakuna. So linawin muna po natin kung anong paninindigan talaga ni VP Robredo dahil sa mulat-mula naman po ang presidente walang tigil na nagsasabi na ang bakunang pinakamagaling ay ang bakunang narariana.
The UNTV News is still trying to get a comment from VP Robredo, but in a radio interview, her spokesperson, Attorney Barry Gutierrez, says the vice president is open should anyone approach her to work with the president for an infomercial to encourage more people to get vaccinated. He adds VP Robredo has been encouraging the public to get the COVID-19 jabs through social media. President Duterte has been vocal of his preference for Chinese vaccines, particularly government-owned Sinopharm, despite its absence issuance of an emergency use authorization from the country's Food and Drug Administration. He also criticized VP Robredo for calling for a review of the Health Technology Assessment Council or HTAC on Chinese vaccine Sinovac. The president received his COVID-19 vaccine using Sinopharm on May 3, while the vice president received her jab just this Wednesday using AstraZeneca vaccine. Jorlin Delgado, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God. The Philippines posted 6,258 more cases of COVID-19, bringing the country's total tally to 1,171,403. Based on the Department of Health's updated bulletin, the number of total active cases in the country is at 55,531. Of these cases, 93.5% are mild, 2% are asymptomatic, 1.22% are moderate, 1.8% are severe, and 1.4% are in critical condition. The DOH noted that 5 testing laboratories failed to submit their reports on time. Total recoveries rose to 1,096,109. That's after 2,586 more patients survived the viral disease. The death toll climbed to 19,763 after 141 new COVID-related deaths were reported.
The Philippine government will prioritize the COVID-19 vaccination of Filipino athletes and other delegates bound for the Tokyo Olympics and the Southeast Asian Games. Rosalie Cos tells us why.
Presidential spokesperson Harry Roque said the Interagency Task Force for the Management of Emerging Infectious Diseases or IATF-MEID approved the Technical Working Group's recommendation to the Interim National Immunization Technical Advisory Group to allow the early vaccination of athletes, coaches, delegates, and officials who will represent the country in the 2 major sporting events. Roque said the IATF approved the latest policy during a meeting on Thursday. The palace official also announced that the IATF likewise approved the conduct of a bubble-type training of athletes participating in the said events, subject to the applicable guidelines of the Philippine Sports Commission, the Games and Amusement Board, and the Department of Health. The 2020 Tokyo Olympics is set to be held from July 23 to August 8, 2021. The SEA Games, on the other hand, is scheduled to run from November 21 to December 2 in Vietnam. Meanwhile, the request of the Philippine Swimming Incorporated to host the 2021 Swimming National Selection Meet under a bubble-type format at the New Clark City Aquatic Center, Capas, Tarlac has also been approved by the IATF. Rosalie Cos, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
India is being urged to declare an epidemic as the country gets plagued by a rare fungal infection linked to COVID-19 patients. Here's Paul Gatchalian to tell us the details live.
Mucormycosis, also known as the black fungus, is a very rare infection caused by an exposure to a deadly mucor mold. The mold is commonly found in soil, manure, and decaying plants or fruits and vegetables and affects the sinuses, brain, and lungs. The rise in infections are currently believed to be triggered by the overuse of prescribed steroids for treatment against COVID-19. Severely immunocompromised COVID-19 patients and those with uncontrolled diabetes are said to be the most vulnerable and make up majority of the known infected cases. The current situation has pushed Health Ministry Joint Secretary Lal Agarwal on Thursday to write to 29 states in India. The letter asked all of the states to officially declare it as an epidemic under the Epidemics Act, so that authorities can closely monitor the progress of the said infection for every case reported. The epidemic comes on top of the second wave of the pandemic in the country, and experts believe that the situation could be worse than what is seen. Health systems are pushed even further after the surge in cases has led to a shortage of the antifungal medication amphotericin B on top of the uncontrollable COVID-19 infections. The country's coronavirus deaths has now reached more than 287,000. However, it is unclear which deaths were caused by the virus or the fungus. Back to you, Diego.
Thank you for those updates. Paul Gatchalian reporting live from New Zealand.
And for those watching our 24/7 live streaming on YouTube, please click the subscribe button you see on your screen and ring the bell for notification. You may also follow us on Facebook.
The Philippine Navy denies no purchase of maritime assets for their modernization program has happened during the current administration. In fact, President Rodrigo Dutertes has acquired 2 Philippine warships. Leah Ilagan explains why.
The Philippine Navy Modernization Program is a 15-year program. It is divided into 3 horizons. Horizon 1 is from 2013 to 2017. Horizon 2 is 2018 to 2022. And Horizon 3 is 2023 to 2027. The Duterte administration covers part of Horizon 1 and the whole of Horizon 2. Philippine Navy Modernization Office Director Captain Emerson David says, during the Duterte administration, they have purchased many assets. This includes 2 warships, the BRP Jose Rizal and BRP Antonio Luna, that were delivered in 2020 and 2021. Captain David says, although the previous administration listed them, the Duterte administration funded it. The current administration also purchased 2 anti-submarine helicopters, 3 multi-purpose attack craft used in Mindanao, 8 amphibious assault vehicle, 2 landing dock, 1 Pohang vessel, and rocket-propelled grenade launchers delivered on 2019. The Navy also expects the delivery of other acquired assets such as the fast attack interdiction missile craft, ammunitions, light armor, 10 fast boat for Navy SEALs, system upgrade of Jacinto-class and Del Pilar-class vessels, and even the development of naval education, training, and doctrine in Zambales and docking base in Cebu.
The said acquisitions, yung aking pong na-mention, and deliveries are characterized and categorized as equipment requirements po ng ating Philippine Navy in order to attain the minimum credible defense posture.
While the 2 tugboats, including harbor tugboat and ocean-going tugboat, are now in the bidding process.
The ocean-going tug, these are much bigger and capable for towing yung mga barko natin in the high seas. So pwede siyang pumalaot para kung meron halimbawa na kailangan siyang hilahing barko, magagamit siya. While the other one po, yung harbor tug natin, these are special boats na ginagamit naman to assist other vessels into and out of the pier.
Captain David says they are waiting for the budget for the approved 6 offshore patrol vessels and corvettes. The Philippine Navy admits they need more maritime assets like a submarine just like other countries.
Marami po tayo kasing pangangailangan and pinaprioritize lang po muna natin ano ba yung mas kailangan natin to address yung mga current natin na situation. So ganun po ang nangyayari. But all of these are really important para po sa ating buong sandatahang lakas and buong Philippine Navy. Lahat po ito, hindi lang po barko. Actually, yun pong pangangailangan natin para sa ating air assets are equally important po.
Armed Forces of the Philippines Chief of Staff General Cirilito Subihana appealed to Congress to increase spending on military upgrade.
Nadagdagan yung ating modernization fund para mas marami tayong mabiling sasakyang pangdagat. At isa pa, itong ating procurement law kung saan napaka-rigid, ang hirap bumili ng pangangailangan ng ating Armed Forces of the Philippines.
Leia Ilagan, UNTV, News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
The House Committee on Justice assures the impartial hearing of the impeachment complaint filed against Supreme Court Associate Justice Marvic Leonen. Nel Maribuhok reports.
The House Committee on Justice will begin hearing the impeachment complaint against Supreme Court Associate Justice Marvic Leonen on May 27. According to the committee's Vice Chairperson Alfredo Garbin Jr., they will first determine the sufficiency of the complaint both in form and in substance.
Premature pa tayo makapagsalita na ito'y puusad at magkaroon ng full-blown hearing dahil under our rules, we are mandated to determine muna whether it is sufficient in form, tapos kung sufficient in form, determination again ng sufficiency in substance. Kasi kung doon pa lang sa isang requirement, hindi na pumasa, baka ma-dismiss na ito.
Congressman Garbin assures that there will be no shortcut in the proceedings, nor there are movements to get the one-third vote of the House to automatically bring the case to the Senate for trial.
Wala pong ganon na move na magkaroon ng articles of impeachment that will be signed by one-third of all members of the House of Representatives. Wala pong ganon na plano.
The complaint against Justice Leonen was filed by Edwin Cortavilla, Secretary General of the Filipino League of Advocates for Good Government. Among the grounds in the impeachment complaint is the alleged failure to file his statement of assets and liabilities during his tenure at the University of the Philippines. This same reason had been used to oust the late Renato Corona and Maria Lourdes Sereno from their positions as Chief Justice. Nel Maribuhok, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
Opposition coalition Isang Bayan is looking for candidates to join its pool of nominees for the 2022 national elections. The anti-government coalition will include current controversial issues such as the West Philippine Sea and extrajudicial killings in the country when choosing their nominees. Dante Amento explains why.
Attorney Howard Calleja, one of the conveners of Isang Bayan, says they want candidates with affirmation or strong position over the Philippines' claim at the West Philippine Sea. The group is chaired by former Justice Antonio Carpio, who asserts our right in the disputed area. Isang Bayan will also determine the candidate's stand on the anti-terrorism law and the alleged extrajudicial killings in the country.
Ano ba yung kanyang track record? Ano pa yung kanyang ginawa o kanyang mga sinabi o binoto nung kanyang panahon ng panunungkulan? So kasama din po yan, yung kanyang karakter. Siya ho ba nagsisinungaling o nagjo-joke lang? Magje-jet ski pero hindi daw magje-jet ski, joke-joke lang.
The group is considering Vice President Leni Robredo, Grace Poe, Senator Nancy Binay, Antonio Trillanes, and Manila Mayor Isko Dumagoso as possible candidates either for President or Vice President. Isang Bayan aims to have a unified opposition slate against the Duterte administration candidates for May 9, 2022 elections. Meanwhile, Isang Bayan is positive that their candidates will win in the upcoming elections.
Sana po, unite at pag makakaasa po ang mamamayang Pilipino, pag nabuo talaga namin ang isang unified opposition ticket, this will be no joke. Sa May 9, 2022, mananalo po ang ticket ng Isang Bayan po.
Calleja adds it is high time to replace the alleged failures of the government. But Environment Undersecretary Benny Antiporda has refuted the pronouncement and defended the actions of the current administration.
May narinig akong na ang sabi po ng oposisyon is maaari silang manalo kung tutulong ang taong bayan na ipagkalat kung sino talaga si Duterte. Si Duterte po ang isa sa pinakamalaking dahilan kaya naibsan yung grabing traffic din natin sa Maynila. Si Duterte rin po ang dahilan kaya po nakakapaglakad na tayo sa gabi na hindi kailangan maglingon-lingon ng ating ulo.
Dante Amento, UNTV, News and Rescue. We serve the people. We give glory to God.
An agricultural interest group fears that President Rodrigo Duterte's executive order to lower rice tariffs for a year will harm local farmers. But the government says the order aims to offset the expected shortfall in the local supply of rice in the country this year. Ray Pelayo reports why.
Under the Executive Order 135, the tariff of rice from countries like India, Pakistan, and China will be lowered to 35% from 40 to 50%. With the lower tariff, the Samahan ng Industriyang Agrikultura or SINAG fears that traders will divert buying imported rice than the local due to the price differences. And to compete, millers will also buy from local farmers at a lower price.
So dun sa 24 na landed cost, ang pwede nilang bumili sa farmers is 15 pesos yung dry. Yung wet, nasa 12 pesos yun. With that price, maglulugi yung farmers. Dahil wala pa sa break-even price yun.
Millers proposes to government to buy from local farmers through the National Food Authority with 17 pesos and 50 centavos per kilogram, while they will help in milling the produce with a milling fee of 3 to 5 pesos per kilogram. SINAG estimates that the government will need 205 billion pesos to buy around 12 million metric tons of harvest from June to December this year.
With this new EO, kung mag-back out yung magsasaka dahil yung miller hindi bibili ng mataas dahil malulugi sila, malaking shortage natin sa bigas.
Agriculture Secretary William Dar said that NFA can only buy limited volume of rice.
NFA will only buy because they're mandated to maintain proper stock. So yun lang bibigyan ng gobyerno.
The official argue that the lower tariff rates on imported rice will address the 10% supply shortfall. Dar also noted that the farmers are enjoying the benefit of the Rice Enhancement and Competitive Fund under the rice tariffication law.
I don't think so because the farmers, sabi na naman nila dati, aatras na magsasaka because of the RTL. The farmers continue to plant.
Dar adds that the intention of lowering the tariff is to make rice affordable. Ray Pelayo, UNTV News and Rescue, we serve the people, we give glory to God.
In other news, an emission of steam plume has been monitored from Taal Volcanos' main crater. The Philippine Institute of Volcanology and Seismology, or PHIVOLC, said this began intermittently at 11 p.m. on Thursday with the onset of rains. PHIVOLC said the activity on the main crater consisted of the upwelling of hot volcanic fluids in its lake, generating a voluminous steam plume 2 kilometers high drifting southwest. The volcano's sulfur dioxide emission averaged 3,051 tons per day last May 20. Alert level 2 is maintained over Taal. Residents are still prohibited from entering the Taal Island, especially in the vicinity of the main crater and the Daang Castilla fissure. And after an 11-day conflict leaving hundreds of people dead, Israel and Hamas finally agree on a ceasefire in Gaza Strip. Marvy Delfin will give us the details live. Yes, Marvy, go ahead.
William, people poured onto the streets of Gaza, celebrating the truce, ending the 11 days of fighting. In the latest statistics from Gaza's health ministry, at least 230 Palestinians have been killed, including 39 women and 65 children, with 1,710 people wounded. 12 people in Israel were also killed. William, Israel's decision to unanimously accept Egypt's proposal for peace comes after heavy U.S. pressure to halt the military operations. On Wednesday, U.S. President Joe Biden urged Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu to seek de-escalation, while Egyptian President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi ordered 2 security delegations into Israel and Palestinian territories. Following a cabinet meeting, Netanyahu announced the mutual and unconditional ceasefire, while the Hamas said it would be mutual and simultaneous. However, each party stands ready to retaliate for any violations by the other. According to Israeli Defense Minister Benny Gantz, the reality in the field will determine the continuation of operations. Meanwhile, the ceasefire was welcomed by the UN chief, but also called for real efforts to address the root causes of the conflict and achieve national reconciliation. Back to you, William.
Yes, thank you, Marvy Delfin, for that report live from Perth, Australia.
The vaccination rollout for the A4 and A5 priority groups will begin next month. But local government units call in citizens who belong to the A4 and A5 sector to register online. Asher Kadapan Jr. explains why live. Asher, go ahead.
Diego, individuals included in the A4 and A5 clusters of the country's vaccination rollout program needs to specify whether they are getting their vaccine through their employers or their respective local government units. This way, preparation for the vaccination rollout will be more efficient. With this, Nabota City Mayor Toby Tiangco, among other Metro Manila mayors, appealed to residents to register online for the said essential detail.
Kasi yung A4, sa ngayon, kung hindi po babaguhin, pwede po sila magpabakuna doon sa place of work nila o place of residence, doon sa kanilang pinagtatrabahuhan o doon sa kanilang tirahan na syudad, no? So, kailangan po natin malaman kung saan talaga sila magpapabakuna. So, napakalaga po yung pag-rehistro nila.
The number of registrants in respective areas will help LGUs in identifying strategies in increasing their vaccination capacity. Mayor Tiangco focuses more on increasing the capacity of the existing vaccination sites in Navotas City, although he explains that the LGU is prepared to open more sites if necessary.
So pag pinayagan na po yung sektor na yan at kailangan magdadagdag po tayo. Pero as it is, yung kapasidad po ng mga vaccination sites natin lumalaki. Siyempre po doon sa simula, tayo ay nag-aaral pa din ng proseso at siyempre ayaw natin na mabulunan tayo kaya very conservative tayo, no? Hindi natin din alamihan. Siyempre habang nagtatagal yan, nakikita natin na pwede tayong magdagdag.
Pateros Mayor Miguel Ponce, on the other hand, says they have been preparing for the mass vaccination and has also prepared additional vaccination centers.
Sa nakikita namin ngayon, isasagad namin sa limit nila itong dalawang malaking vaccination centers at bubuksan namin yung pangatlo. So titingnan muna namin hanggang yung pangatlo, kung kailangan buksan na rin yung pang-apat, ay gagawin na rin natin ito.
The Interagency Task Force for the Management of Emerging Infectious Diseases, or IATF, will issue the guidelines for the COVID-19 vaccination rollout of A4 and A5 clusters, while the National Task Force Against COVID-19 plans to start their vaccination proper on June 4. Meanwhile, workers of the Commission on Elections, or COMELEC, call center agents, and LPG dealers are now included in the A4 priority group. The A4 sector is composed of workers who are still required to physically report to work amid COVID-19 quarantine restrictions. Diego?
Thank you, Asher Kadapan Jr., for those updates.
The government's task force against COVID-19 has created a group that will study and formulate protocols for the possible entry to the Philippines of inbound passengers who have completed their COVID-19 vaccine doses. According to presidential spokesperson Hani Roque, the working group will be chaired by the Department of Tourism and co-chaired by the Department of Foreign Affairs. Earlier, Tourism Secretary Bernadette Romulo Puyat has proposed setting up a green lane for foreign visitors who are fully vaccinated. According to Puyat, with a green lane setup, it would be easier for tourists to visit the country, especially as quarantine restrictions ease with the progress of the vaccination worldwide. She also said that the other countries have already opened their doors to fully vaccinated foreign travelers.
And for the news abroad, authorities will impose a full lockdown at Malaysia's fourth largest city of Ipoh starting tomorrow. Sheryam Bao will tell us why.
A full lockdown will be imposed in Ipoh, Malaysia for 2 weeks from May 22 as the federal government considers extending the tough measure throughout the country. The announcement came as the COVID-19 situation continued to worsen with a record of 6,806 new infections and 59 deaths reported nationwide. Besides the capital Ipoh, 4 districts in Perak, Hulu Perak, Quinta, Mualim, and Larut, Matang, and Salama will also come under the enhanced movement control order until June 4. The National Security Council, chaired by the Prime Minister Muhyiddin Yassin, has yet to decide whether to impose a full lockdown in the country. Malaysia's vaccination rollout is moving at a slower pace than initially scheduled due to the slow arrival of the vaccines. The government is confident, however, that the goal to inoculate 80% of the adult population to achieve herd immunity by the end of the year remains attainable. Sheryam Bao, UNTV News and Rescue, Malaysia. We serve the people. We give glory to God.
Brunei has temporarily suspended its reciprocal green lane arrangement with Singapore. Ani Mancilia will tell us the details live. Yes, Annie, please go ahead.
Mariel, starting 7 p.m. yesterday, May 20, the reciprocal lane agreement between Brunei and Singapore has been temporarily suspended until further notice. The announcement came after Singapore Health Minister confirmed another 27 new COVID-19 community cases, of which 6 are unlinked. The suspension only applies to those who haven't been approved under the current arrangement until the 7 p.m. cutoff last Thursday, while those who are already approved can continue their travel. Self-isolation in a hotel will be required to travelers from Singapore with duration to be determined by Brunei Health Ministry. Reciprocal green lanes are border agreement between countries meant to facilitate short-term essential business and official travel. This arrangement must be sponsored by a company or a government agency and are tested before departure and on arrival. The latest suspension means that all 6 reciprocal green lane with Singapore are all closed except the 6 provinces in China. The green lane with Germany, Indonesia, Malaysia, Japan, and Republic of Korea were already closed before the suspension with Brunei. Singapore is now in phase 2 heightened alert since May 8 due to the rise of community cases and implemented a heightened alert on May 16 until June 13 due to the surge of the new cases with 187 community cases for the past weeks. Marielle?
All right, thank you, Annie, for the live report. More than 6 villages were evacuated after a wildfire broke out on the coast of the Gulf of Corinth, approximately 90 kilometers west of Athens. Fire Service spokesman Vasilis Vatrakogiannis said that this is the first major fire of the year, and the villages were evacuated as a precaution. According to the Greek Fire Brigade, around 180 firefighters were battling the blaze, with 17 planes and 3 helicopters supporting the extinguishing operations. Officials said that while several homes have been damaged, no casualty has been reported and no lives were in immediate danger. And those are the reasons behind the news in other parts of the globe. I am Maria Latoza, live from Perth, Australia. Good evening.
Meanwhile, several parts of the Philippines continue to sizzle to dangerous high levels, prompting our health experts to advise the public to stay indoors. But did you know that even staying in the comforts of our homes could also lead to heat stroke or exhaustion? Janice Ingente explains why.
COVID-19 is not the only rising health concern in the Philippines, but also heat stroke. Recently, about 20 areas in the country recorded a heat index of 41 degrees Celsius and above. A heat index of 41 to 54 degrees Celsius may cause heat cramps and heat exhaustion, which in turn may lead to heat stroke.
Nag-uumpisa yan sa tinatawag nating heat syncope, mga hinihimatay, heat cramps, pinupulikat. Ito, hindi pa tumataas yung body temperature. Ito ay dahilan sa nadidehydrate sila, nawawala ng tubig at electrolytes. Ngayon, mauuwi yan sa heat exhaustion. Tumataas na yung body temperature. Kaya yan, makikita nyo na maliban sa sakit ng ulo, nagsusuka, bumibilis yung paghinga, at pagkatapos niyan ay pwede rin himatayin. Ngayon so yung heat stroke, yun ang extreme. So kaya importante na nare-replenish yung ating nawawalang tubig at electrolytes sa katawan.
To deal with this, the public is advised to stay indoors. However, according to Dr. Bong Santiago, a person can still experience heat stroke even while staying indoors. It is important to have a good ventilation and take a shower, and for those who can afford can use electric fans and air conditioning units. But Dr. Santiago warns it is not advisable to immediately take a cold shower or go to a fully air-conditioned room when your body heat is high. The person must first let his or her body adapt to the environment. The process is called acclimatization.
I-acclimatize mo muna na huwag, kasi it goes in both ways yung sobrang lamig and then bigla kang pupunta sa mainit, no? Biglang palit ang temperature mo noon, no? So pwede kang taasan ng pressure nun the BP can go up kasi hindi kakayanin ng cooling system ng katawan, ika nga, yung biglang pasok ng init sa katawan.
Other things a person can do to avoid heat stroke at home is regularly hydrate, wear thin and loose clothes, and avoid going out if necessary. Drinking liquor, coffee, and tea is also discouraged during heat emergency as this dehydrates the body. Janice Inhente, UNTV, News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
Speaking of heat, smartphones, laptops, and tablets could also be damaged by heat. Well, here are some tips to keep your gadgets cool amid the hot weather as JP Nunez reports.
Ria Linconde, a work-from-home English teacher, complains when her desktop malfunctions amid the hot weather. With no air conditioning system in their home, her desktop suddenly turns off, which affects her work.
Sobrang init. Ayun yung nangyayari sa kanya, naghahang siya, nagba-black screen siya, nagba-blue screen siya, babalik siya saglit lang. Tapos, magkakonduct ka ng classes mo siguro mga 10 minutes lang, 25 minutes po yun.
According to an expert, gadgets can hold a heat of up to 30 degrees Celsius, and exposing them to higher temperatures will affect the gadget's performance.
Kapag na-expose po sa high temperature, yung ating gadgets, bumabagal po yung yung processing. Pag bumagal ang processing, yung functions niya, babagal din.
To avoid this, experts advise make sure there is ample of space around your devices. And make sure the vents are clear and that there are no loose items that could obstruct airflow around your electronic devices. Never place your computer by a window under direct sunlight. Move the computer to a cooler and cleaner area. Electronic devices get hot enough on their own. Stacking them on top of each other produces and conducts even higher temperatures. If one of your gadgets begins to overheat and malfunction during the warm months, shut it down and disconnect its power supply. Let it sit and cool down until the casing is no longer hot to the touch, and then try to use it again. JP Nunez, UNTV, News and Rescue. We serve the people. We give glory to God.
And those are the reasons behind the news, May 21, 2021. I am Harleen Delgado.
Reasons we deliver to you as they unfold. I'm Angelo Castro III.
And because we need to know, we will always ask why. I am William Theo. We serve the people. We give glory to God.